Hello, my name's Ben here on Sinner Creation, and today we're going to be talking about the Ynnari influence on the 40k setting. So for those of you who don't know, the Ynnari are a faction within the Eldar race who worship a new infant god called Ynnari, who is the god of the dead and gains more power the more dead Eldar there are, and its ultimate goal is to destroy Slaanesh. Now, they're a relatively new race. They've only been introduced in Gathering Storm Part 2, and for this video I thought I'd speculate on what they could do in the future or how they would influence other races within the lore. So without further ado, we'll move on to the races. So, as shown in Fracture of Bealtan, for those who haven't read it, the factions within the Eldar race are very much divided on whether they should follow this new wayward god or stick to the old paths that they've been putting their trust to keep them from Slaanesh. Now, the most likely of the Eldar factions that are to ally with Ynnari are the Harlequins, as both their deities are working towards the same goal, the defeat of Slaanesh. Now, the Harlequins work very much closely with the Ynnari during the Fracture of Bealtan book. They guide them through the webway. Various troops of Harlequins change their allegiance purely to the Ynnari. They are saved within the webway when attacked by Slaaneshi demons by a solitaire and a troop of Harlequins. Now, within Fracture of Bealtan, Vect and the Homunculi stress that they will not ally or tolerate the Ynnari's existence. With the Homunculi, this is because it's a threat to their way of life. Now, the Homunculi gain power through using necromancy to bring Dark Eldar back to life from being dead, and they do this by growing what's left of them back to life. Now, they live off the fear that Dark Eldar have of dying and being consumed by Slaanesh, so the idea of a deity that can bring them back to life or even protect them from Slaanesh indefinitely would stop the Homunculi from profiting, and this is why in Fracture of Bealtan the Homunculi attack the Ynnari repeatedly, but eventually retreat when they realise that they can be permanently killed by this god. Vect also stresses a dislike of them as it causes a fracture to his power hold with another disjunction in Comra when the Cain's Gate breaks. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't those within the Dark Eldar that won't ally with the Ynnari. There are those that openly left the Dark City or fight within the Dark City that are allies with the Ynnari now. There are those that keep their allegiance secret, and generally they're very divided on the subject. Now, the Craftworld Eldar are very much the same. It depends purely on the faction within them. Earthway and Bealtan have stressed pretty much complete allegiance to the Ynnari's cause. There's another Craftworld, I believe they called them Alastari, which are a Craftworld that was stuck in the warp and was saved by Morgan Ra. They have quite a few allies in the form of the Eldar now, which allows for some interesting armies to be constructed using the book's detachments, narrative ones and otherwise. I'm going to be mixing them around. It would be nice to see in the future how they use these setup storylines, like is Vect going to send large forces out to try and defeat the Ynnari before they can expand? Are the Homunculi going to look to allies with various other races? They've stressed an allyship with Fabius Bile before, training him. Could it possibly be that they ally with Chaos Space Marines to try and take down the Ynnari? with the Craftworld Eldar, it's more difficult to say which Craftworlds would be more likely to ally with the Ynnari in future or possibly fight against them. I was generally surprised that Bjortan was the Craftworld chosen to ally with them, because they're very strict towards the various warrior paths rather than diverting from them. The Harlequins, I can understand why they're the most likely to ally, and I'd like to see more of them included in future stories, possibly having Harlequin troops such as the Veiled Path, showing what their influence on the new story would be interesting, as they led to Vex's rise to power, so whether they be against or with the Ynnari. So the Imperium of Man has noticed the emergence of the Ynnari through them helping them at the end of Fall of Cadia. Now, they pretty much treat the Eldar with the same suspicion that they always have, but there's speculation that in the next book, which is pretty much confirmed actually, that they're going to ally to bring a Primarch back from the brink of death, being Roberto Guilliman. Now, I believe that there are certain factions within the Imperium which would be very much against allying with the Ynnari as a whole. I think the Imperium would use the Ynnari as an ally of convenience mainly when they're fighting chaos, rather than openly fight together, just not fight against each other. Now, the factions I believe would be quite highly against the Ynnari are mainly all factions of the main factions of the Inquisition, being the Ordos Hereticus, Malleus and Xenos. Now, Hereticus, at the idea of a new god emerging, anything that worships any god that isn't the Emperor would highly likely be destroyed with extreme prejudice. Malleus would be of a similar ideal, because it's a new form of demon, and Xenos would be against them purely because they're Eldar, purely because they're a Xenos. Now, I believe factions like the Space Marines and the Astra Militarium would again ally with the Ynnari based on convenience. The Mechanicus, however, would likely want to research and possibly learn how the Ynnari's new abilities work, probably to either weaponize them or utilize them. This could probably be seen in the new book, The Rise of a Primarch, when they bring Roberto Guilliman back. Be interesting to see how they did it, but I'll have more on that as it's released. And now we'll move on to the next race. Now, although I believe that the race itself wouldn't be overall concerned with the emergence of the Ynnari, I believe that there are individuals within that race that would be extremely interested in how the God of the Dead works, or the possibility of gaining its power, and this race is the Necrons. Now, there are three characters I believe that would be interested in the emergence of the Ynnari. The first of which is Illuminator Xerus. Now, Xerus is the cryptech which created the biotransference process, which made the flesh and blood Necrontyr become the living metal Necrons. Now, he's managed to get the knowledge to become a god of pure energy, which is his eventual goal, but refuses to undergo the process until he's learnt how to create and manipulate life, which has eluded him thus far. Now, I believe that the powers that the Ynnari have would interest him greatly, as Yvain, the emissary of the Ynnari, has shown the ability to reverse the death process. Now, in the book Fracture of Bjortan, she shows the ability to reverse the rubric of Ahriman, making a small group of the rubric marines become living people within power armor again. Now, if Xeris was able to reverse engineer this, he would be able to get his goal of being able to manipulate life, possibly, and this would probably lead to him leading full-scale invasions to try and capture either the avatar of Ynnari or Varaine herself, who's demonstrated such powers. Now, this could lead to larger wars between the Necrons and the Eldar within the lore in the future, possibly. Or, in the case of some of the other characters, it could lead to allegiances, where I go on to the Silent King. Now, the Silent King is the leader of the Necron race who struck the allegiance with the C'tan initially. Now, he disappeared after the Necrons went into their millennia-long slumber, and has only just returned to the galaxy. Now, he's been in the Outer Void and seen the overall threat of the Tyranids within the Void, and is looking to unite his race and possibly with other races in order to fight them. Now, I can see him trying to broker an allegiance with the Ynnari, as, like the power I discussed before where Yvain was able to bring rubrics back from the dead, could it possibly be used to bring Necrons back from the biotransference process, essentially making them sentient beings once more? This would purely rely on whether the souls of the Necron tier who undertook biotransference still exist when they were devoured by the C'tan, or if they are within a limbo within the warp. It's not really discussed how powerful Necron souls are, but it's a possibility within the lore that alliances between the Necrons and the Ynnari could be brokered around this story point. Now, the final character that I believe could be interested in the Ynnari, or more than likely is the Collector, Trazyn. Now, Trazyn collects pretty much anything that's unique, and the possibility of him knowing about the Ynnari is probably very high. Now, if he was to capture the characters within the Ynnari, it could lead to large problems for the Eldar race, as one of their few hopes could be captured by this Necron character, which again could lead to great campaigns within the setting, maybe assaults into the galleries of Solomance, which is where Trazyn keeps all of his subjects that he's put into stasis. Now, I believe the best way they could go about using the Ynnari and the Necrons as a story point is to introduce the Silent King and have possibly these two characters as side points to that main story, having a possibility between the Eldar and the Necrons not being enemies but not being allies, taking back the grudge that was created in the War of Heaven. Now, the Tau, I believe, are the most likely Xenos race to ally with the Ynnari, as they have shown willingness to ally with other alien races in the past. They hardly understand the warp and the entities that live within it, so the idea of a deity that gains power through the dead would be confusing to them, to say the very least. I could see them either allying with the Ynnari in order to fight against a common enemy, although chaos isn't a major threat to them, or they could possibly try and capture the god to research it. Maybe Earth-caste scientists could try and create new machines based on the warp. Well, they've tried to make new machines based on the warp before. They're able to skim it with their ships, but maybe they try and weaponize or utilize the abilities of the Ynnari. Now, as far as the Orcs and the Tyranids are concerned, I believe the Orcs wouldn't care too much about a new Eldar faction other than it being a new group for them to beat up and fight in combat. Now, the Tyranids, however, if this leads to the Eldar eventually becoming some sort of warp-related race, so later on down the line when the Eldar are very much extinct, maybe you could see Ynnari becoming a new deity in similar power to the Chaos Gods, maybe even Eldar souls becoming the equivalent of lesser or greater demons of Ynnari. Now, if this happens in the far future, I can see Tyranids treating the Eldar race as a rival predator rather than a food source, and seeing it as something they need to deny to their food sources like the other races. So they've shown this against Chaos Demons in other storylines. There was an incident on a planet where Tyranids caused a demonic incursion, and although they couldn't eat the demons to make more of their race, they were able to see them as a rival predator and fight them off. They do the same for Necrons, I believe, as they can't consume them to make more of themselves. So the final faction I'd like to talk about, which is the least likely one to want anything to do with them, is the Forces of Chaos. Now, I don't think any of the forces of Khorne, Nurgle or Tzeentch, or the Undivided for that matter, would have much interest to their emergence other than wanting the Eldar to stay dead. Slaanesh is the most likely to have a problem with the Ynnari's emergence, as it's a complete threat to his existence. During the book, the Mask of Slaanesh tries to defeat Ynnari, sees it as a way of getting back into her god's favour. It'd be interesting to see what Abaddon's take on the Ynnari is in the next book. I can't see him targeting them mainly because he'd be more concerned with the Primarch that's going to re-emerge. As I said before in the Eldar section, I think it's more likely that characters such as Fabius Bile and Lucius the Eternal may re-emerge to be included in the storyline. Fabius allying with the Homunculi would be an interesting story point to see. Him wanting to learn more secrets in return for an allegiance would be good. Chaos Demons, however, I'd like to see return, maybe emergence of some new Slaanesh faction miniatures, maybe some sort of Keeper of Secrets character to be introduced, or even just a new Keeper of Secrets model would be good. Maybe some specialised Chaos Marine and mutant models for Slaanesh in the same manner they did when they released the Thousand Suns would be interesting. So those were my thoughts on what the Ynnari could possibly be included in the future of the 40k lore. These were just speculations and theories. It'd be interesting to see what other people think. If you'd like to leave it in the comments below. I think purely it could be used to create new models, to create new allegiances, new detachments would be interesting in further stories. And I look forward to seeing what workshop releases in future involving the Ynnari. So I've been Ben on Sin of Creation. Happy to have been here, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.